Good afternoon and welcome to Living, Loving, Learning in a Sensational World. I'm your host, Latanya. This is my co-host, Ellen.
Hi, and good afternoon.
First of all, introductions. I'm going to give you a little bit about myself and then I'm going to throw it over to Ellen so she can give you a little bit of info about her. So, as I said, my name's Latanya. I'm a married mum of 4. I've got 3 boys who are 15, 13 and 8, and then a little girl who's 4. My oldest son, we believe, is dyspraxic, and my third son is autistic. Um, Basically, this is just about our journey. So, me and Ellen met about 4.5 years ago when our youngest were a few months old. We were on a course that was run by the National Autistic Society alongside Jubilee Parenting. Um, and it was called Prism at the time, but I believe that they've changed the name now. What did they change the name to? Sorry, Ellen?
I'm not sure what they changed the name to, but I know the particular course that we were on was called Social Communication.
That was it. Okay. So I think they still run the courses now. But anyway, so we met there, we bonded, um, and then one of the ladies who was there told us about the other group that she runs, which was Jubilee Parenting Chill and Chat, which I convinced Ellen to come along with me to. Um, and that was quite a big part of, especially Ellen's journey, but mine also. And then from there, Ellen kind of decided she wanted to give back. Wasn't sure how, and then I think at the beginning of last year,
That's
you
correct.
came up with the idea of a support line. I asked if I could jump on. She said yes. Um, and then we kind of grew her initial idea into what is now currently Am I Alone? So I will let Ellen tell her a little bit about her, and then we'll come back to what I Am Alone actually is. Take it away, Ellen.
Well, good afternoon. As you heard, my name is Ellen Garcia. I am a founder of Am I Alone alongside Latanya. I am a married mother of 3, a 19-year-old son, a 7-year-old daughter, and a 5-year-old son. My daughter, who is 7, is diagnosed as non-verbal autistic with global communication delay. Um, as Latanya said, we met about 4.5 years ago, maybe now. Um, at that time, I was going through the whole isolation and anxiety. I think a lot of that was through lack of knowledge and understanding. You know, I've just found out that something's not right with my little one. Not too sure what's going on. I'm researching, I'm looking into things. People aren't understanding. Therefore, I'm isolating myself by not really going anywhere and staying at home and not really talking to anyone. And I went on the course, which I found extremely helpful. And that's where I met Latanya and her husband. Um, After the course ended, Latanya started to attend Chill and Chat and convinced me that I should come along. Um, Going to Chill and Chat was a big eye opener for me because the anxiety of even getting out of the house with the 2 small children and putting them in the car and driving there, sometimes it was just too much. I'd get them ready and just sit there and watch time ticking. And sometimes I get to Chill and Chat and maybe there was half an hour left. And it went on like that for a while. One of the good things about Chill and Chat was that it was a safe place. There was no judgment, and people embraced you. If you went and you sat and you cried, nobody's going to look at you different because we know that we all have those days. Today it could be me, next week it could be somebody else. Um, the good thing also was that they had a creche. So being able to put the children in the creche and just have some one-on-one adult time was also an amazing thing because when you are in that isolation, I was finding that the only adults I saw were the adults at my daughter's nursery and the people in the sweet shop, really and truly, because that's all I would go. I'd just go there and back. Shopping, that was out of the question. It would be mainly online shopping so that I didn't have to go anywhere. But going to Chill and Chat helped me to become more confident, helped me to remind myself that I'm not just a parent, I am someone. And sometimes afterwards, I'd actually take that step and go in the supermarket. And although, I'm anxious and people are looking at you because your child might be making funny noises or whatever, I'd be able to get through it and get home and feel that sense of what would be the right word to use? It wouldn't be relief, that sense of accomplishment. That's what it would be. It would
Mm.
be an accomplishment to know that I'd actually been able to get through that shopping trip and get home, and I felt good. One of the things about Chill and Chat are the three ladies that run it, the one that we go to, which is in the Woodland Centre. Shout out to all the staff down there because they are all lovely. But Laura, Rachel, and Jane, they are fantastic women. They are three women who collectively are beautiful souls, but individually are also just as lovely. Um, for a long time after, I started to feel like I wanted to do something with my life, but I didn't want to just go back to the same mundane jobs just for the hell of it. I wanted to do something that I would feel was fulfilling and worthwhile. And going on the journey with a Sen child, I felt like there wasn't enough support for a lot of parents out there. And I kept thinking, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? And I came up with the idea for the helpline. And I was speaking to Latanya. And of course, she wanted to jump on the bandwagon, which is nothing wrong with that because, that is the code D right there. You can jump on the bandwagon anytime. And we decided that, you know what? We're going to become business partners. And that is how Am I Alone came about. Bearing in mind, she also helped me to look at the bigger picture instead of just, okay, let's get a helpline, get a SIM card, get some leaflets posted. No, that doesn't work. So let me proudly say, Am I Alone is a registered non-profit organization that is run by myself and Latanya. And we are proud to be the owners, and we are proud to be able to know that we are doing something that is heartwarming to us, but worthwhile to us, and also hopefully worthwhile to all you other parents and carers out there. We also didn't want to just make Am I Alone about mummies. There's so many fathers out there who are also either in a relationship and needing help and advice or single parents. And then we thought, but we also don't want to alienate carers. There's foster parents, there's carers in the sense of other family members who are in charge of a send child, and other organizations where you have carers that have taken on the responsibility of children. So we didn't want anybody to feel alienated or isolated by us just only focusing on one group of people.
Yeah.
There you have it. Am I alone? No, because we're
So, I
here.
mean, so like as Ellen said, Am I Alone originally came from the idea of getting a SIM card and, just having like a support line for parents to call into if they were ever in kind of crisis or wanted to share something, big and happy that had happened.
Yeah,
And from there, we also noticed that so we are based in Croydon. We noticed that there's lots of different little kind of entities within Croydon, so different
mhm.
support groups and stuff. But the problem that you have is none of them connect. There's no
Yeah, they don't
bridging
work
of these gaps
collectively.
and they don't work collectively. So what our big aim really is to kind of keep these little kind of communities, these little segments, these little pockets of support all around the borough, but have them be connected because we definitely believe that as a Sen community, we are stronger together
Definitely.
because someone from like segment A may have some information that might be really, really useful for someone in segment B, say. Like we know that we have links with the carer centre and there's a woman that we know quite well called Astrid who works amazingly in regards to EHCPs. She does webinars, etc. Now, lots of people don't know about this because the information isn't shared as much as it could be. So that's one of our things. We are sharing all of this information because knowledge is power. And when it comes to our children, the more we know, the better we can advocate for them. So it's really important for us to kind of just grow this huge Zen community where no one feels alone or isolated, where even if I don't have the answer, I can point you towards someone who may.
That's
So
right.
a lot of signposting it's
Yes,
a really big thing for us. Um, and I think it's really important. And it's not about, um, like Ellen often says, it's not about stepping on anybody else's toes, because it's not about that. As long as people are feeling supported, that's the most important thing. It's not about who gave them the support, because whether someone calls us or messages us, or whether they contact the Carer Centre or MenCap or the National Autistic Society, doesn't matter as long as they're getting the support that they need. Like that's the most important thing for
definitely.
us, really.
Definitely. I agree with that. Um, I think one of the important things that Latanya touched on there was knowledge being power. If you're a Sen parent, let me take it back a minute. When you're a Sen parent, one of the things that I've come across with many parents as well as myself is that sense of you it's like you feel a sense of doom. Let's just be honest. For a split second there, you're feeling a sense of doom, you're feeling a sense of dread, you're just thinking to yourself, why my child?
Is this
What
like
do I do
when
now?
you find out about your child having SEN?
Yeah,
Yeah, because
you know,
there was, when we've spoken about it before, talking about grieving. It's
yes,
okay
exactly
to
right. That's
grieve the
exactly
child.
what I'm into.
Yeah,
Yeah, because the thing is, you've had all these hopes and dreams of what your child is going to be
yeah,
like, what your child's going to do, and then you start to notice your child is different. Sometimes you're not
hmm,
exactly sure why your child is different, but you know there's
yeah,
something that's not matching up with your child and maybe somebody else's child that you know is around the same age. When
mm,
you finally get to the realization and understanding that, you know what, I have a Sen child. A lady once told me, you have to grieve the child you thought you were going to have and embrace the child you have. So
hmm,
basically, all those hopes and dreams that you had up in your mind, thinking, oh, yes, this, it doesn't mean they're completely gone. But what you need
yeah,
to now do is you need to reevaluate.
yeah.
That's
Maybe adjust slightly.
yeah. And also another thing that I come across sometimes is that the denial of parents. So let me put this into a bigger context. Am I alone is peer support. You can pick up the phone if you're having a moment and you feel like you need to talk to somebody who understands. The only people who will answer the phone is a person who is connected in some way to a Sen child, whether it be a parent, a carer, nobody who went to college and university and read so many books but doesn't actually have day-to-day dealings with a Sen child. There's no point. And I know people are going to judge me for saying this, but there is no point. And the reason I say there's no point is because if you are not living the day-to-day life we're living, you don't have
Yeah,
any understanding. There can
yeah,
be two Sen children sitting side by side and they have got the same diagnosis from a doctor, but they're
yeah.
still not the same child.
And
There's going to
they can
still be
present very, very
completely different
differently.
in so many ways.
Yeah,
And I sometimes think when us as parents are in denial, a lot of parents don't want to believe that their child is a Sen child, and that's your prerogative. But, and I have to say, but the amount of time that you sit there and are in denial, what you don't realize is you are missing out on valuable time of gaining knowledge in order to be able to help your child thrive. And that is the main thing. We're here, we want to give as much knowledge, help, and understanding to as many parents as possible in order to have the right tools to help our children to thrive going forward. My
yeah,
daughter has recently just started speaking in sentences in the last maybe 6 months, and she's 7 years old. But when
yeah,
I hear her say, she'll say to her brother, go to your room. Man, she can tell him that 10 million times if she wants to, just so I can hear her say that, you know? And it's a big
Yeah.
thing. But if I say to somebody else who I know doesn't have a SEN child and their child is 7, oh, she said, go to your room. Or she said, can I have a drink? Or in her words, it'll be, Mama, drink, please. But it's all about, I understand you. You know that I understand you. And you don't have to feel so frustrated anymore because you are making yourself
Yeah.
heard. So it's all about helping your child to make the progress. The more progress your children make, the less frustration your children have, the less frustration
Yeah.
you have.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen over a week. It doesn't happen over a month.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can take
It's
a
a long
year.
time. Yeah.
But you know what? When you see that progress, oh man, it warms your heart. It really warms your heart. You know, Latanya, she's got a son who is autistic. I've got a daughter who's autistic. Our children are completely different. The only
Yeah.
similarities that there may be between them at sometimes is they might make a sound or say a word that sounds similar, but it's
Mm.
other than that, there's really no similarities between them at
Yeah.
all. You
They're
know,
different. They're completely
they're
different people,
completely
aren't they?
different
So
children with completely different
yeah,
needs. So I want you parents to understand that it's okay to be in denial, but don't spend too long in denial.
it's a process, isn't it? Like the
Yeah,
whole journey is a process. So there's
that's
different
right.
avenues. But like I said, like so my grieving period, so to speak, with my son Jackson was really quick. But my husband's was a bit longer.
Yeah,
And
same.
like there was a time at the beginning I was like, okay, so he's gonna live with us forever and he's never gonna be able to travel, blah blah blah. Now he's 8 and like we got his diagnosis when he was 3. Now he's 8 and I'm like, I reckon with the correct support, my guy can probably live by himself. Like he'd need like people around, but I reckon he could probably do it. Like we're having big things at home at the moment. At the moment, we are learning to put our laundry in the laundry basket. I
There
know
you
he's
go.
8, but it's a big deal.
That's right.
Last year, like 2022, we conquered using the toilet.
There you go.
Yes, he was 7, but we've done it. Like, it doesn't matter. We're not working on anybody else's timescale. We're working on our family timescale, and that's fine by us. And in our home, this is his safe space. So we can learn at whatever speed we need to.
That's
And his
right.
school is really great at supporting him. So he learns at whatever speed he needs to there. So it really does make a difference, the coming out of it and just adjusting your world, your life to make
Yeah.
it a little bit easier for your children.
Can I just touch on your whole thing there? A lot of people talk about their children and teaching them how to use the toilet. It's not an easy thing. I think for
Yeah.
me, I had my son who is 2 years younger than Angelica. So I was more
Yeah.
or less potty training them at the same time. Um,
I think we're similar, but what had happened for me is the youngest one did it really quickly
that's
and
right. Yeah,
like
they were
if it
off.
was a
They were like,
race,
yeah, this is
yeah,
nothing,
if
you
it was
know.
a race, she won.
Yes.
Jackson came a little while later, but I was really worried about the progress because I was like, "Oh, if I can't crack it with him, like maybe she's not gonna." She was fine,
No,
and then
that's it.
eventually he kind of,
Definitely.
yeah,
Yeah, because for me, Angelica started school and she was 4 when she started school. She turned 5 a few months after. And
yeah,
although she wasn't wearing a nappy all the time, if I was going on long
yeah,
journeys, then sometimes I put a nappy on or I'd make sure I've got the potty in the car. And on her
yeah,
first day of school, I'd spoken to the teacher before the first day and she said to me, is she going
mm,
to wear a nappy to school? And I said, well, I don't really know. And on the first day of school, I got up in the morning and I said, you know what? Are you wearing a nappy or are you not wearing a nappy? And then
yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. There's also that thing of I don't know if I really want someone changing my child's nappy and it's not me. So it's like,
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I said, you know what? You're going to school with no nappy. There you go. And I just sent her. And you know what?
So does she
I
go to
feel
school from no nappy from the off?
yeah. From her first day, I sent her with no nappy.
Ah,
I said, nah, we're gonna do this. And I sent her in no nappy, made sure she had a change of clothes. And you know what? She
yeah.
has never had a toilet accident at school, and she is now in year 3. So I'm so pleased. But all you parents out there, don't be dismayed. Angelica was 4, Jackson was 7. It takes time. Each child is
Yeah, yeah,
individual.
and
Some
it's all at
children don't
different
like
speeds,
toilets.
like yeah, exactly, and
Yeah,
it's also to learn not to compare. Like, so I
no,
think
that's right.
stereotypically, we kind of compare our children because there's milestones that children are
That's
supposed to meet
right.
at certain points. We would send children like, just throw that out the window and work on your own kind of
Yes,
timescale, work
yes.
on your own
You
like,
have
don't
to.
worry about all of that. Yeah,
No,
you
you
have to
have to.
because your child's not working to what everybody else is. Like, your
Yeah.
child's working to their own schedule,
That's
100%.
right. Yeah, definitely. It's amazing when you think about it, because that's a question we hear a lot. Oh, how did you get your child to stop wearing nappies? There's some children that
Yeah,
are 10 and still wear nappies. So you
yeah,
can't really judge. And then you can't also say that, oh, send children always take long to learn how to use the toilet. No, because there's some send
because that's
children
not
who are
necessarily
very
true. Yeah,
OCD, and they go make
yeah,
sure they knew how to do certain things because they don't
yeah,
want nothing by them. So, this is why we talk about knowledge, learning,
yeah.
understanding, and
And
being
sharing
able to
ideas as
help
well,
your
because
children.
yeah, and I think being able to share ideas, like if someone does say like, "Oh, how did you do like potty training?" There is nothing wrong with people saying, "This is what we tried." Like you might say, "This is what I tried," and then at least then they've got some things in their toolboxes that
Yeah,
they
they've
can
got
try.
options. They've got options.
Yeah, exactly. And I
It's
think
like bed
that's
training.
definitely part of what we want to do.
Definitely. It's like bed training, training your child to sleep in their own bed. I think I tried 4 different methods. Um, I think the best one, although it sounds really bad, is the one where if they cry, just pick them up and put them back in the bed. And I used to just do that and don't speak. And then I'd sit on the
Okay.
floor. Yeah, I'd sit on the floor while she's lying down in her bed. And then every couple of
Yeah.
days, I'd get closer to the door on my bum.
That's
And
called
then
like sleep training, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
and it got to the
So
point
with our
where,
oldest two, we didn't have to do that. With Jackson, he was absolutely fine for a really long time. And then I believe COVID happened and he became like super unsettled.
of
And
course,
like, so you know what you was just talking about? What I was very against, and each person is completely different, but what I was very against is I don't want my child crying. So whereas you were quite happy for your child to like cry and then you just pop them back in the bed, like
hmm,
I was like, I'm not having any tears. So we're going to do this the long, 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 long way, and we're going to have no tears. And it really was the long, long, long way because it actually took. So my husband kind of took the lead in regards to Jackson and the sleeping because I had a baby and was breastfeeding, so it
yep.
wasn't really going to work. And it took just under 18 months to be able to say, it's bedtime, take him in, tuck him in, and leave. So, Joe, my husband, basically stood by his bed until he was practically asleep. And then each kind of week would move ever so slightly further away. And when I say ever so slightly, I mean like a step at a time, because if he moved too far, Jackson panicked and he had to go all the way back to the beginning. So it was like a seriously slow process,
No, I know what you
but
mean.
it worked. It
I think
worked.
mine
And
took,
then with
sorry,
gone.
hon. No, I was gonna
No,
say,
no,
I
go on.
think mine took about 4 months. Um,
Okay.
and I still had to
Much
do,
quicker.
yeah. And you know what? I think it wasn't even 4 months for the whole bedtime process. It was mainly
Okay.
4 months getting her sleeping a longer period in the bed when she'd gone to
Okay.
bed. But
Okay.
I do like your husband, where I'd move away, but I'd sit on the floor by the door and I'd
Yeah.
move closer to my door for my bedroom. And then it got to the point where, you see the guys in the army when they go underneath that net thing that's on the floor and they're crawling on their bellies.
The army
Yeah.
crawl. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'd be doing across the passage floor to get to my bedroom. And then I started to realize, okay, you know what? After a while, I'd sit in my room and she know I'm in there, so
Yeah.
she's okay. So after a while, it was all right. I could put her
Okay.
to bed as long as she knows I'm in my
And then
room,
they were just
and then
there.
she's fine.
Okay.
I'd hear her in there, she's playing. I don't mind if you want to play.
Yeah.
but you're in that bed.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah, as
know?
long as you stay in bed. Yeah,
Yeah.
we were pretty similar. But yeah, so that's kind of one of our stories. So just to kind of let people know about where you can find Am I Alone, we do have social media. So we've got Instagram
That's
and
right.
Facebook,
Hmm.
YouTube channel, and obviously the podcast
Oh, and
and
we also have
uh,
email,
the website.
just in case.
Sorry?
Sorry. We also have email as well, just in case you wanted to
Yes.
privately email, So there's
Yeah.
also that option also, as well as the
Yeah,
helpline.
you so
Sorry,
you
go
yeah,
ahead.
if you're looking to reach out, you can email us, you can private message either via the Instagram or the Facebook.
Hmm.
I think there's a contact us section on our website as well.
That's right. Yep.
So there's all of those things. Um, in regards to the podcasts, we're going to be talking about like a bunch of different topics, and the podcasts aren't going to kind of follow the same format every time.
No.
So a lot of them will be quite conversational, like this one, but there will be some more that are kind of a little bit more serious, and there will be some that are kind of more interview styly. Um, we do have a colleague called Natalie who has
Hi,
experience in working
Natalie.
in a SEN school, but she is also a SEN parent, and she works a lot with her son using kind of play and play therapy. So we're going to have her on at some point talking about that specifically, but we're also going to get her to be uploading some stuff onto the website as
Yes.
well, so people can kind of look there. Um, but yeah, I
But
think
sorry, can
topics
I just
we've
say
quite like
the whole thing with Natalie and play therapy, again, it's trial and error. What works for you
yeah,
may not work for someone else, and what works for someone
yeah,
else may not work for you. But we just want you to know that, look, we're trying to give you as many different formats as we can. So whether it's by
yeah,
information that we put up on our social media about EHCPs or about different types of SEN, or if it's practical things that you can do at home with your child as well, you know?
yeah. So I think that's, like I said, that's going to be one of the topics. At the moment, we're kind of focusing on the topic of EHCPs on our social media. So at some point, we will be doing a podcast regarding that. Um, we'll have podcasts about different SEN diagnoses and
That's right. Yep.
how we felt when we had our diagnoses, medication, etc. So there'll be lots of different kind of information being shared.
Yes.
Um, I
One of
mean,
our
I think Ellen
highlights.
has lined up. Yeah,
Oh, sorry. Yes, one of what I think is going to be one of the highlights, and one that I'm looking forward to especially, is going to be the Dad podcast. I'm so excited to see that because, not being funny, but the dads are a mess sometimes, So it's just going to be hilarious listening to the way that they're responding to things, because you won't see us, you'll see them, but you will hear us because we'll be asking them questions.
in the
But we
background.
won't, yeah, we'll be asking questions. So their responses is going to be amazing because I know what my husband's like. I know what Latanya's husband's like. There's a few other candidates that we've got, and we have an idea of what they're like. So it's looking
Yeah,
like that's actually going to be a really good podcast to watch, because I think sometimes people forget how difficult it can be for fathers as well. um,
yeah,
I've also got a headmistress of a SEND school lined up, which I think is going to be a really interesting and informative podcast. But before we put that up and before we actually do that recording, what we will do is we will advertise it. And if there's any questions that the parents would like us to ask, let us know, and
yeah.
we
We
can
can
let
put them
we
forward.
can
Yeah,
put those questions to be answered if she can answer them, and see
yeah,
what we get back from that. So I think she's looking
yeah. I
forward
think
to
also,
it.
hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
maybe not as much as we are, but she's agreed, so she can't back out now.
Exactly. But I mean, on our social media, we will be putting up stuff about the podcast, and we will be asking if there's any particular topics or anything you want us to kind of chat about. So please do
Definitely.
interact with us via the social media, because I think it's really important, because then we're kind of not just doing what we want to do, we're also kind of bringing you into it too.
Of course, yeah.
Ellen, is there anything else that you wanted to say or add at this point?
Um, Really just touching back on what you said. again, I just want to reiterate, it's not about us, others, others, others. It's about us and inclusion and inclusion and inclusion. Therefore, just as I said, when we do the certain podcast, we'll advertise them if there's questions you want to ask. We want you to be included. We want you to feel included. And we want you to know that
Yeah,
your opinion matters. Also,
yeah,
you're going to hear people's opinions on certain topics. Myself and Latanya, we don't always agree on certain topics. Um,
hmm,
we have a difference of opinion on a lot of things. But
yeah,
when you do watch our podcast or you do see our social media posts, we try to make them as down the line and as neutral as possible. But there's going to come times when we do say certain things that you don't agree with, and that's fine. Please comment. Your comments are valid. It's good to be heard, and
yeah,
your
yeah,
voices need to be heard. But please don't be disrespectful to others. If somebody
yeah,
says something you don't like and you want to make a comment, by all means make a comment. But make your comment in a
yeah,
constructive way where you're not going to make somebody else feel that their comment is invalidated. And especially if it's
hmm,
somebody who maybe is in an isolation type of situation at that time where they're not really getting
yeah,
out and not really seeing people, and this is making them feel included and being heard. Please don't do
yeah.
that, because you can also make a person take 10
You can
steps
set
backwards
them
when they're
back.
trying to
Yeah,
make the steps forwards. So I just want everybody to understand, be
yeah,
kind, be,
yeah,
be kind to each other, because you know what? We all have sent children and we want people to be kind to them. So how can we expect
yeah,
people to be kind to them when we can't be kind to each other? And that's a very
yeah,
important thing.
yeah. 100%. Like it's about support, and we can have healthy debates, and we can have differences of opinion,
Of
but we
course,
can still be respectful. That's super important. Yeah. Okay,
definitely.
well, I think that's enough for today.
Yep.
So, thank you for listening to Living, Loving, Learning in a Sensational World with myself and Ellen. We'll see you soon.
Have a good day.